Okay, good morning. We are back on the farm this week. Loads of bits and bobs to go through, but before we do, the most important thing about this week is today, and that's Friday the 23rd, and it marks the release of the first 4 episodes of Clarkson's Farm on Prime. There's 2 more episodes to release on the 30th and 2 more again then on the 6th of June, but the highlight of our career and super proud to be a part of Clarkson's Farm Season 4. We were a big part of Season 2. We've been back again. So thank you very much to Clarkson's Farm and the entire team. They've been fantastic to work with and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. However, back to a poor man's farm and the reality of what we've got going on. Now, we've had some either with the bull this week, which I'll get onto at the back end of this video, but before we do, we've had Finchy and the guys back in. We have put this strip of concrete through. If you remember, we had only put one side in so that we could still use the other while that went off. Well, we've done this side now, we've dug it back out, we've concreted it and we've put rapid set in it so it's gone off quick enough, and that's opened this driveway through now to our bottom yard, and it has freed up an element of yard space there which we're going to need, I think, for storing bales potentially of second cut. We need that extra room because the clamp isn't going to be done in time, although we have done the foundations, which we'll get to in a second. But as we work our way around, bio unit is still at a bit of a standstill, unfortunately, because from our side of things now, although we are ready for the safety flooring to go in, we did have the guys come out and check that, and unfortunately for us, and I can't believe this, but the moisture content in the anhydrite screed is still too high to actually put that floor covering on. So unfortunately that is still at a standstill, albeit once that's done, it'll quite quickly come together to finish the bits off. Foundations though, let's go and have a look. So, silage clamp footings are now in. It's been a bit of a tricky job really. If you remember, the building itself is 3 number bunkers in terms of down the length of the building. So we've got these carrier beams in that set this side, the stanchions 9 metres or just over 9 metres apart, which give us them 3 bunkers down the length of the building. But at the back of the building, we've obviously got all the stanchions and we've got all the intermediate gables. So marking this out was quite a tricky ordeal. Reese did do a good chunk of it himself, but it did end up being all hands on deck because it was windy, and if there's one particular job that I probably should have used the total station on, I'll say it was this one. On the day that we poured, it was windy, so the string lines were a bit of a nuisance, and at the same time there was sag in them because we'd left 1 or 2 of them up in place for too long. So yeah, I should have used the total station on this because it would have made a lot of difference as well for us, because the site is on a split level. Because again, as we've dug this part off and levelled it through, at the same time, at the very end of the site, it drops off massively over there. But the footings, they're in, they're done, and we'll find out if they're all in the right place when we come and put the steel up. So we've got the gable end of the building here, and then we've got the bunkers down that way, and we've got the intermediate bases obviously set in there. Then what I've done additionally to that, and I know I said I wasn't, and this is only a week ago, I wasn't going to put planning in again this year. I'm sorry, Justin, from Ben Wharf's office, but I'm afraid you're going to have to put us a little application in, because when I've worked things out, our permitted development rights, we still have a little bit of footage left, and it suddenly dawned on me that we're putting this clamp in here, which is for silage and potentially maize, that I haven't got any storage of any barley whole crop or anything else, because when we move our system away from what we're presently doing and onto more of a mixer wagon and how we're feeding the cattle, I am short of a bunker or a bay for barley whole crop. So what I've decided to do is add a 20-foot bay to the end of this, and at the same time, that top yard that's up there now that we've just took the soil off and ready to stone up, that was just going to be a concrete pad, the attachment cover between the 2 buildings might as well start. So we might as well put that in, which will then put this cover over our additional bay that we're putting on. So we're going to put planning in for that now. Hopefully that'll go through just as quick as the clamp, and then I can start and put the foundations in for that section albeit I've got to strip the ground there as well. But if I can put the foundations in for that, it helps with the whole build process, because my retaining wall then effectively is in the right place, not one bay short. I've also put a couple of little foundations at this front end. Although there's no building or nothing going here at the minute between the two sections of building, I am just going to put some gates so that we can gate that yard off. If we're running cattle up and down this ramp, they can't get onto that yard. Other bits down here are over here. So this little oddball corner that we've got left here, we either continued with the yard at the higher level, which we originally had up there, or we cropped it back to the existing concrete and had the yard then at the lower level. That's going to suit us better because we've got, again, a little pocket here where we can put a handful of bales to store in the meantime. In the future, I think what we'll do is we'll probably end up looking at putting a small bull pen or a couple of bull pens in there to give us somewhere to store the bulls and obviously bring them in out the way of all the other stock. But it does help in terms of it tidies the yard up. We don't need the storage for anything on the top yard, so we might as well have it here on the bottom. And additionally to that, I've got rid of the ramp. So now there is only going to be the one ramp in and out of the site, because this was going to be ridiculously steep and it's going to form a bit of a nuisance in the yard from a turning round point of view, because we want to be able to turn the stock box in here and be able to load from the buildings or from the cattle handling facility that we're going to put in over there. So in terms of the layout of the yard, it worked far better. Rather than leave it as a top yard, we'll just include it in the area of the bottom yard. And now on to my depressing news, the bulls. Okay, onto the depressing element of our week, and it is Sam. Or one of the points is Sam, actually, because unfortunately we had him in the shed, we had him ready to go out, we introduced him to his herd that he was due to serve of all the cows with the calf at feet, and unfortunately it's just not worked. He's come out of the shed, he was absolutely fine, he's gone into the field, he now appears to be a little bit lame, so we are going to have the hoof doctor out and get his feet checked and everything like that, but I don't know whether he's got something in his foot or something wrong with his foot, or whether he's trapping a nerve in his back. But that's only problem one. Problem two, he does not have any libido whatsoever. He's not even sniffing around stuff, he's just point blank not interested. So we are back to where we were when we first bought him now 2 years ago. And that, I'm afraid, is the final straw, because unless some miracle there is something wrong with his foot and we pull a stone out that we've had checked before, and there's nothing that we've seen that has been a problem. But if it is by some miracle that happens, then by all means we'll keep him. If not, I'm afraid, Sam, you're going to be the world's most expensive beef burgers. That brings me to point 2 of my depressing bullshit week. In what should be a super proud moment of introducing our 3rd pedigree Limousin bull. Unfortunately it's not, because this is Voma, and Voma we bought from Welsh Pool. They had a pedigree sale on, and with Sam not working, immediately I decided I was going straight across to get another bull, because we can't afford to have the cows running without a bull with them, because we don't want to end up in 9 months' time in the same position that we've been in presently because Sam wasn't working properly. So in order to try and tighten our calving pattern or group up, we decided that we were going to go and buy a bull. So we went across to Welsh Pool and we ended up buying here Voma. Fortunately, it's not worked out overly well. I've got the phone open here. We got him back, we put him in the shed overnight, and then the following morning we put him out to work. By that evening, he was going to town on a certain young lady out there, and he was definitely doing his business. I got all excited thinking, oh, he's got the libido, he's right in there. Unfortunately, then we noticed his penis, unfortunately, Unfortunately, we then noticed his penis was bleeding. Now, from what Google says, it's a rupture of the tunica aubergine or something of the penis of the bull. It occurs at a very predictable location, i.e. on the dorsal aspect of the distal bend of the sigmoid flexure. Now, I can't show you exactly what the problem is because unfortunately, in order to see what the problem is, old bully boy has to be stood to attention. Ryan's not here, so we're not going to be able to get him to do that, but I'm going to show you on myself. No. Sorry, you're getting far too excited. I'm going to show you that if you are, it's not actually big enough, is it, to be like me, but if you are bully boy and that is your shaft and that is your end, unfortunately, he's got a rupture on the underneath. And it keeps, the harder he gets, the keeps dribbling out blood. So therefore, he's not working. Now, unfortunately, we've had to take him out. We've obviously put him back in the pen on his own, which means now we've got to wait and see what happens. Like I said, I don't really know how we're going to know if he's better because unless he's out there, we don't know if it has repaired. We've given him anti-inflammatories. It does say about cold water treatment. Not sure how we're going to do that. That might be a Ryan job again. But unfortunately, there is only a 50-50 chance as to whether he will ever now return to service. So for us, that is absolute bollocks because that is 6,800 quid potentially down the Swanee. Now we have, luckily, got insurance in place, but obviously I've got to wait now and see if that covers that. But it does mean that we're back in the same boat again. We have no Sam because he's not working, he's not interested. Voma is out of action until we know whether he's going to get back into action, and now we have no bull running with our big herd of cows. But as I don't like to finish on a bad note, I am going to finish on a high, and we're going to talk about Udo because this week I've had a conversation with Jessica, who we bought Udo from, and she has reminded me about what a good bull he was. And I already knew that. He's our #1 and favourite bull on the farm. He's out there working his socks off. He's as good as gold, soft as a brush. He's everything that you'd be looking for. But she reminded me a little bit about Udo's sire line and about his genetics. And for me, I'd sort of forgotten a little bit about that because we've concentrated that much on the commercial element of the herd that we've been building, that going back to the beginning when I did want a pedigree herd, I'd sort of forgotten that. I'd forgotten, and we concentrated all our efforts on this commercial factor of what we're doing, that now I want to revisit running the pedigree herd alongside the commercial element. So we've got the cash flow and the bits and bobs going on, but at the same time we can concentrate on the pedigree herd growing and going forward, because genetically, opinions will vary here, but genetically we could potentially have one of the best bulls in the country in Udo. And as much as I think he's absolutely fantastic and he's doing a great job on the commercial side, it's probably a waste just leaving him to that, because there's an element of the commercial herd we'll always do, but over here I'm worried about 20 pence a kilo difference in the price that makes a difference between profit and loss. Over this side, we could be looking at 20 pence difference in per kilo of animal when you made your profit £1 a go. So whereas I was worried, and obviously getting into the pedigree side of things is a small fortune, but when you have already a number of building blocks that you're already starting from, i.e. Udo, and in all fairness, if Voma gets himself better, and obviously now I'm going to have to buy another bull as well, so I'm still going to go down the lines of another pedigree bull, if I can find one. We're still going to have good grounds to start growing this side of things, but it's going to be a steep learning curve because as well I don't know a great deal about it. So sorry Jessica, my stalker friend, but I'm going to have to stalk you a little bit, and we're going to have more conversations on how you can help me get going on that side. So that's it for here on the farm. If you like what you've seen, hit subscribe, ring the bell. We're going to leave you with a massive on the farm montage while I go and watch Clarkson's farm.